human nature, because every single religion was written by a human.
Yeah.
Right? So, no human would write something that doesn't reflect their own needs, nature, and stuff like that, right? Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but I have a lot of stuff written down. I wrote it really messily, so it's hard to,
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. You guys aren't quite interfaith.
No.
Okay.
Are you guys married?
Not quite.
No, we're not.
Listen to the first podcast.
Yeah.
But
no,
what Dave was saying before is...
He's not going to get married before 10 years.
Sorry?
Oh. I was asking about the parents, because I assume they're both religious, so...
Dave's is more religious,
Dave's
apparently.
parents, because it's both of his parents that are really religious, his dad in particular. My dad is actually an atheist. My mum is really religious, though.
How does she feel?
Really religious.
She believes... Okay, fair enough. She believes in God. She doesn't go to church, but she does believe in God. And whenever I say to her, like, Mum, I'm an atheist, she's like, oh, no, you're not. I'm like, no, Mum, seriously, I'm it was just back when I was like a strong atheist. I don't know if I believe in the Bible. And then she's like, oh, you should. But she's not gonna, we're not gonna get into an argument about it. I think as she's become older, she's become less religious. But I don't know.
Okay. My parents asked quite early on. In fact, the first time I mentioned Maylee, in fact, I was really worried about telling my parents that I had a girlfriend, because I knew exactly what they'd say, and my dad said, is your relationship Christian?
Oh God.
More like
she yells out, oh God.
Yeah, we'll go with yes on that one.
I had a great way of getting out of it, because I knew that he wouldn't go into any further detail, so I was like, what do you mean? Like, is your relationship Christian? What?
Can you be specific?
Say in literal terms.
I want you to say it.
What you mean? And so obviously he was just like, I'm not having this conversation. Okay, great way to avoid the question. But yeah, no, I think at the beginning it was definitely an issue. And like I said, I was really scared to say to them, look, I don't believe anymore. In fact, from like 2-3 years probably after I, firmly decided that I don't believe in this, I'd still, whenever I went home visiting them from uni, I'd still always go to church with them, and I'd still never mention anything because I had to just keep up appearances. But then eventually there was a point where I was like, look, I don't really believe. They obviously prayed for me every time I went home after that. But yeah, I think now they've come to accept it, because they'd always like have a go at us about like sort of abandoning our beliefs and things like that. Mm-hmm. But as two people who, as a young couple, decided to abandon their own faith, because they were Hindu at that point, to then switch to Christianity, I found it a bit hypocritical of them to then turn around and say, why don't you believe the same things that I believe? And why are you turning your back on it? I think after that point they stopped, but they do care about that side of the relationship and things. Right. So I don't think they wouldn't be happy if we never got married.
Right.
They wouldn't be happy.
Dave.
Marriage it's just that I married, and the only reason I got married was because my parents were so against dating, because they were like more strict. So the only reason I got married was just so that my husband and I could date, because we weren't allowed to date. We were together for 10 years, and like signing a piece of paper, and my friends are like, yeah, when are you gonna have kids? And I'm like, so no sex until I sign this piece of paper. And now you're all like, so when are you gonna have sex? And so it does nothing at all. Like, you already living together. We never lived together, so what it did is that it allowed us to live together. And I think a lot of my annoyance towards organized religion, not faith per se, but organized religion, is that like people can just use it to control their children, and that pisses me off, because my parents were like, God said you gotta listen to your parents, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure he said that, because parents are generally good people and they want what's best for their kids, but also like, I love this person, I'm gonna marry them. And it's not even an interfaith relationship. Well, like, we're both atheists, it doesn't matter. But like, he's also raised Muslim. And they would just bring up religion every single time I wanted to like say something, like, well, you can't hang out with him because religion, the whole like, you know, the co-edness is not allowed, and same Orthodox, like I guess strict Christian, strict Muslim, same deal, like boy girl things not happening. And so every time I was just like, man, if I was not Muslim, I could just go on a date to the movies and it'd be the most normal thing in the world. Yeah. But because I was born in this religion and with my parents being the way they are and stuff, like, is making it difficult. So like, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. I think that what I was gonna say about interfaith marriage is that I think that depending on how level of devoutness of the couple, they can work. What makes it not work is the parents. Because when the kids are born, the couple may come to an agreement about how they want to raise their kids, but it's the grandparents, when they start to meddle, that's when things get really murky. So like my uncle and his now ex-wife, he's Pakistani, she's American, white, and they're married for like 12 years, and I think she converted before she met him, something like that anyways. But her parent, my aunt's parents, are super, super, super Christian. So when they had kids, they could not deal with the fact that their grandkids were not going to be Christian, they were Muslim. And so like every time they go visit their grandparents, they'd drag them to church, and then when they'd come back, then my grandparents would drag them to the mosque. Yeah. And it was always this
back and forth.
And then my uncle and I got divorced because they couldn't deal with this anymore. Right. So I think that interfaith marriages can work. It's the cultures and parents.
If there's respect, like. I think
they can even work. Depend if there's respect amongst the two people, and they respectfully tell the parents. Because I know my parents had to be put in their place a couple times by my sisters, just due to it had obviously nothing to do with religion because we're all still Christian, but just certain things they would do and certain things that they would say, certain things that they want to expose their grandkids to that might. But if you just say my children will not participate in X, Y, Z, otherwise we just won't come back. Trust grandparents want to be around the grandchildren. So if you're saying either not play with my grandkids or I just won't mention the faith issue, most will come around. And if they don't, then you got to do what's best for your kid. You can't you can't bend on that. But once again, there has to be a respectful agreement amongst the two parties. It can't just be like, well, so I took her to church today. I'm sorry, say what? I thought we had an agreement that this isn't what we're going to do. Well, you know, it just felt right. Yeah. So I do think interfaith relationships, they can maybe work. I'm not. Maybe, yeah. I'm a strong advocate, and I don't think two devout anybody's can work.
Well, relationships are hard enough as it is to maintain.
Yeah. And then when you add your faith and your beliefs,
that's the key word that you said there is the two devout people, and I think it depends on your level, like the severity of your devoutness, right? Because I have an ex-girlfriend who was I would say quite religious, but we broke up, and it had nothing to do with the fact that she was religious, and we talked about it a lot actually. And back in those days, I was also everyone. You go through a violent atheist stage, right? You're like, oh man, have I got opinions?
Let me tell you.
Oh, I got opinions for you. And I mean, even despite that fact, and I challenged her a lot on it, and she didn't seem to care. She said, like this. She was the type of person that really. She went to sort of a non-denominational church, a very non-prescriptive church. And she went because it made her feel good, right? She took what she needed to from that church. Yeah. She had friends. She was a good person. She attributed her good morals to the religious teachings. I didn't. I thought she was a good person because she was a good person. She was a good person. But yeah, I think like if her and I had not had the personality conflict, then we could have worked out, right? It was nothing to do with religion. Yeah. So I feel like it really depends on. Maybe it depends on how prescriptive your religion is.
That's
right?
true too.
Like, because her religion was like, let's go to church when you feel like it, and we're going to talk about positivity. And I'm going to read this news story that was good news because you never hear any good news on the radio or the TV, right? So I'm going to read this amazing story about this amazing person who did great things, and I'm going to make everyone feel good. And you're going to leave that church feeling like very positive and optimistic, and that was the key proponent of her religion, was the positivity aspect, and she was a profoundly positive person as well. So I think like in that type of situation, with the lack of prescription, you know.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Yeah, but I think also I have it written down here too. Like I think Aimen had brought this up like an hour ago. Just modifying your beliefs to suit your current needs. I think that's a huge part, and not necessarily a problem with religion, but a huge part of it anyway. Because you just told the story very briefly of your father who saw a bunch of children, non-Muslim children, and he needed to believe at that moment that they were not going to burn in hell because, you know, so he changed his beliefs based on that need. And why wouldn't you? Right?
You'd be a psychopath if you wanted kids to burn in hell.
Exactly, right? You know, and so,
Just imagining it.
It all seems, and in that sense, it also reflects an element of human nature in that we all struggle to find meaning, and part of that struggle is modifying your beliefs, right? And whether you're religious or not, it's almost arbitrary, right?
Yeah.
How you choose to believe in certain things, what is right and wrong, might depend more on your situation than on the religion itself, right? Like, I think
like many religions, like most of the mainstream religions, are very like uncompromising. So maybe as a person, you have to be in order to make interfaith work.
Yeah.
I think there's very little movement usually.
So, to start wrapping up the podcast, because you guys apparently don't care about my editing life. Because I'm like, dang it, we still are a bit high. Anyways, I have one question that just gonna throw this to a couple people, not everybody, but when you think of Christian, agnostic, atheist, Muslim, or Jew, what is your first thought? So when you think Christian, agnostic, any religion, what is your first thought? So pick a religion and then say your first thought. Not your religion, obviously. If it's a stereotype, go with it. But I'm just saying, what is, like, if I say I'm Christian, one thing that I always get is people, and I think I told you this, they automatically think I'm a Bible thumper. They automatically
and then Muslim,
think that,
I think, like, just all out, just wrapped up and skirts, and I think I see the apparel, the appearance. That's what I see.
Praying 5 times a
the
day. At least that's what I
just see, like, oh my gosh, you don't believe in God, you're going to hell.
Yeah, and
like,
I think
so just like someone just on their way to hell. Those are the things like that I think that I had.
To be fair, from what I've heard, it sounds like heaven's full of kids. It sounds like a nightmare. I don't want to be there. I want to be with Hendrix.
But yeah, does anyone else have their own thoughts or any thoughts or like when you think of a religion, what, like, because I will say I never even knew that there could be respectful atheists until I moved abroad. Because every atheist I ever met was like,
they're the worst, man.
I'm gonna make you like know that you ain't shit just because you believe in a God and you're just a blind sheep. And I'm like, bruh, calm your ish, all right? First off, if we can have a conversation, it's got to be respectful. That's one first and foremost. Because I don't have the time to try and. Because when I speak about Christianity, I'm not here to change you. But atheists. Most atheists.
Way to pull a alien.
Right. Most atheists, I always feel like they are there to change you. Like, I feel like most atheists are like trying to like shake you out of whatever belief that you have.
You guys are the first people I met that were like, we're not just like combative and for lack of words, crazy. Just
to be honest, I do.
This is
in terms of pushing beliefs, I think atheists do tend to be
very
the worst.
pushy. Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe it's because so many people try to convert them. I don't know.
No, I think it's just.
But then I think it's very, very rare to meet someone who's Christian and then say it, and then, you know, I think it's very rare to meet someone who's Christian, Islam, Judaism, whatever, and then being like,